This is On the Wire, Racing TV's podcast for the best racing previews in association with Bar One Racing.
Hello, and welcome to On the Wire. We only have Noel Moran of Bective Stud on the show today. Let me just check this so that I'm not actually making this up. Last 14 days on the Race Post website. Runs 12, wins 8. That's the strike rate that I think anyone would be proud of. Brendan Duke joins us live from Cheltenham. Johnny Mack joins us live from the bunker of Bar One Racing, the sponsors. I believe Johnny Mack, is it?
It is, Johnny. It literally is a bunker.
And Dukey, you're in Cheltenham.
Yes, I have been in Cheltenham for the last few days, and I'm looking forward to going to the races at the weekend.
This is absolutely absurd. Now, maybe it isn't absurd because this shows the value and the quality of the horses that Bective Stud, which is Noel and Valerine Moran, has. And this is literally the last dozen runners. Hollow Games, 1 to 9 favourite. Sanahir 1, 8 to 13 favourite. American Mike 1, 4 to 7 favourite. Barney Legends 1 by 27 lengths, even money favourite for Ollie Murphy. Queensbrook 1, 11 to 8 joint favourite, well backed as well in a hot race. Ginto very well regarded, 30 to 100 favourite, wins at 30 to 100. Gringo Debrel wins at 4 to 6. And Glenn Glass wins by just a neck at even money in what did look a 2-horse race. Noel Moran, this might be a stupid question, but how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, Johnny. Obviously in good form. We're on a good run at the moment, so long may it continue.
This is very, very exciting, to be fair.
Yeah, listen, it's great to be part of it. I think it's also a testament to Gordon and the team over at Cullentra as well too. It's not just our horses, to be honest. I think all of Gordon's horses are absolutely flying at the minute. I don't think I've ever seen them running so well collectively. So it's great to have them back and training winners again.
Did you watch the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, some of it, not all of it now, to be honest. I did watch some of it, all right.
Okay, let's look back on the two big races, supposed from an Irish perspective, which principally were involving Love, who sent off a fairly well-backed favourite, and Tarnawa.
Love's Only You is fifth, just in behind the leaders. Love is to her outside. Daria is bottled up behind traffic now, 5 lengths off the lead. Rougier is next. Warlike Goddess has gone by runners, and she continues to do so with a wide blitz. Warlike Goddess is moving quickly. She's moving right now, and she's moving to the lead as they come to the top of the stretch. A 5-wide rally by Warlike Goddess and Julian Leparoux. They've taken the lead. My Sister Nat follows that run. Love battles on from the inside. It is Warlike Goddess in front. On the inside, Love. On the outside, My Sister Nat. Love's Only You is coming. Here comes Love's Only You to win it for Japan. Love's Only You came flying late. Beat My Sister Nat, Warlike Goddess, and Love. It is Tribhuven and Acclimate, and these two have been 1-2 so far. Channel Maker's a closer third. Now Bolshoi Ballet is moving 4 wide on the turn. Astronauts on the rail. And then Japan to the outside. Broom is kicking it in now on the far outside. Broom is on the move. And Tarnawa's got work to do. She's still about 6 lengths behind. Channel Maker, a huge long shot, has made the front, but Broom has circled up on the outside. Bolshoi Ballet is in between those two. Tiona's fourth. Tarnawa's got a lot of work to do. And down the center of the course, it's Yabir. It's Broom with 1 furlong to run. Yabir is closing on the outside. Broom and Yabir down to the wire. It is Yabir and William Buick to win the turf. Running down Broom. Tiona was third, and fourth was Japan.
Dukey, I'm going to start with you just on this. Tarnawa was disappointing. What did you make of the RL Moran Love?
Sorry, was that directed at me, Johnny?
It was indeed. That's why I said Dukey at the start of the question.
Yes, you're breaking up very badly. It's probably something at my end. But
Sorry
I
about
thought what did I make of Love? Yeah, I mean, well, my pace maps were a complete disaster in this race. She couldn't get to the front, mainly because she missed the break. Then everything looked like hard work to her. He tried to make a move and the turn away from the stands, and she ended up 4 wide. Eventually, she maybe did get to the front at the top of the stretch, but she'd have to work too hard to get there. Fairly middling effort, I thought in the end, and almost a moody effort, because I did say to you beforehand that I didn't necessarily think she'd regressed. I thought we'd maybe overrated her, but that run suggested that perhaps she's had enough of racing.
Interesting point he makes, Johnny Mac, there, because there was an element of lethargy, I thought, from the start of her run, and this had maybe been signalled or kind of hinted at in some of her runs this season. But at the same time, she got a hell of a horrible trip, and this is such a tricky track. And it actually, I was looking at this and I was like, I would never have a bet in Delmar on a European horse. There's so much that can go wrong, so much happened in the race, not to mind the prelims. And what did you make of it yourself?
Yeah, there's a lot of luck in running, Johnny. Year after year with the Breeders' Cup, we always see unlucky stories there. They're very tight. They ride tight there. The bends, and you need a lot of luck in running there. Short straight as well. So if things don't go well for you, you've got very little time to make it up. And she was on the back foot from the start, Love, as Juki said.
What do you make of Turnawa then?
Laboured as well, Johnny. I'd say she's probably feeling the effects of a hard year. She had a tough race in the Arc, and I'd say that probably was an illustration of that effort that she did in Paris.
Yeah, and she's since been retired. Noel, you are one of these. You are a quintessential Irishman. You love your Gaelic football in County Meath, your local Gaelic football team and so forth. You absolutely love your national hunt racing. And you told me you're more or less sort of ambivalent towards flat racing.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair enough. All right, Johnny. I mean, I think it's hard to be into both as well, too. You can probably only do one properly and do one right. So it's very difficult to get both right. So we tend to focus on the national hunt and leave the flat racing to the professionals on that end of it, you know.
Briefly tell us about Bective Stud.
Yeah, so I suppose we've been trying to get involved in the national hunt side of things over the last 3 or 4 years, trying to build it up. We started off with a couple of younger horses with Gordon. All the horses we have now are still very young. They'll be 4 or 5 year olds. So even now we're still at a very early stage of it. You know, I think if you want to try and get into this game and try and build it up, it does take 5 or 6 years probably to start off with the younger ones, get them up from bumpers to effectively to chasing. It's a 3 or 4 year game just to get them through that initial stage. So it takes time to build it up, but we have some nice young horses coming up now, and I suppose, as you said earlier, we're just starting to see some of the fruits of that work over the last couple of years starting to come through now with some of the younger ones.
Tell us about the proverbial apple of your eye, which isn't a big surprise in terms of your broodmare band.
Yeah, Apple's Jade. So likewise, I suppose there's 2 parts to what we're trying to do. We have been buying a few national hunt horses on one stage, but the other side, we're trying to build up the breeding end of it as well. And we have 6 or 7 mares there at the moment now. So we're trying to breed some of our own and also have some 5 or 6 foals coming along, 5 or 6 horses coming along every year then, so we can don't have to go to the sales all the time effectively. So Apple's Jade is obviously the most, I guess, well-known mare that we have at the moment. A lot of the others wouldn't be household names, but she had her first foal this year. Nice filly foal to walk in the park. She's in foal again now to Crystal Ocean due next March, April. So that's obviously exciting times as well. We have to wait 4 years now to see if we can hopefully get them to a racetrack now and see how good they are. But it's all exciting times.
It's definitely exciting. And you said that she took to the old maternity or the old motherhood like a duck to water as well.
Yeah, she actually did, to be honest. Normally we did have someone with them 24/7 for, up to 4 or 5 weeks before the foal, and we'd have someone with them 24/7. But it just so happened for the hour she needed to foal, there was no one with her, and she foaled on her own, and they came back, and the job was done. So it was a good relief to get it over with no problems, I suppose. You're always worried about the first one as well too. Make sure there's no complications. But she took to it like a duck to water, and it was great to have a nice foal.
And we have a scatter of questions as well that we'll get to you in due course just from Twitter, because people are very interested in your burgeoning string of horses. Juki, would you say you took to fatherhood like a duck to water?
I wouldn't, Johnny. No, I find children quite challenging generally, but I'm working on it. Everyone's just making it up as they go along, as far as I can see.
I couldn't help but see this Noel and Valerine Moran stuff has just been basically gotten rid of, and he's only changed to Bective Stud, Juki, which to me is a clear intimation that out you go, Gigginstown House Stud. Bective Stud is the new show in town.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I mean, we've mentioned it before on this show. Well, I've mentioned before that racehorse owners are my heroes anyway, because they subsidise my hobby. But particularly the owners who stuck by Gordon when the pitchfork mob were baying for blood. I hope they get the lot.
Actually, on that, Johnny Mac, Noel was one of these high-profile owners, Noel Valerine Moran, who stood by Gordon Elliott right through. It's obviously been vindicated now with the results and all that, but that's something that was quite striking at the time, Johnny.
Yeah, it was. What was happening was horrible on social media. We read it all, what was going on. But yeah, fair play to them for standing by Gordon. He needed all the support he could get at the time, and it was great to see him staying loyal to him.
What was your thought process there, Noel?
Yeah, listen, it was a difficult time for everyone, to be honest, Johnny. I mean, I don't think anyone actually realises how difficult it probably was for Gordon and the whole team at Cullentra, and everyone was affected by it in different ways, So, listen, there was no intention to move anywhere else, no matter what happened. That was it, So, as I said earlier, it's good to have him back now. I think racing is all the better for having Gordon Elliott involved in Irish racing, and we've already seen the benefits of that now over the last month or 6 weeks since he's come back,
How many horses have you with him?
So this year we probably have about 25, 26 in training with him this year. We've probably 4 or 5 others that haven't come out yet. So 25 or 6 with Gordon this year. We've 6 with Ollie then in England as well too.
Yeah, Ollie Murphy emotional after my cousin who used to own the horse, Hunter's Call, won as an 11-year-old today. But before all of that, here are 4 of the stars, just 4 of the stars from Bective Stud who have been impressive of late. And after we look back at this, we'll have a few questions for Noel.
As they continue on down the hill and trying to get into it on the outside is Royal Romeo, and American Mike now just begins to take over the lead as far the causes come under pressure. Royal Romeo is trying to pick up on the outside. It's American Mike with Royal Romeo. Champ Gain and Coco Plum are now ridden, but American Mike holds the advantage from Royal Romeo, who's now come under pressure back in second. Coco Plum staying on from the back is past no remarks, but it's American Mike who's beginning to draw clear from the second running Royal Romeo. But American Mike was sent off a short price favourite here, and he's going clear in the concluding contest. Is going to be a magnificent 7 winners for Gordon Elliott over the 2 days. American Mike picks up the bumper for Jamie Codd, and Gordon Elliott in second is Royal Romeo. Past no remarks is third, and they're being chased in by Coco Plum. Champ again in front of For the Cause, and the final one to go by will be Glenview. Now the two begin to draw away. It's the 4-year-old Zana here on the inside. The 8-year-old Caskmate in receipt of £5 going awfully well on the outside as they head towards the elbow. Zana here's asked for maximum effort now. Caskmate may have a little more to give as they head towards the second last. Zana here now. Caskmate has asked for effort. Let's see what's coming at the second last. Zana here is finding Caskmate landed awkwardly. Now Zana here has the initiative to the final flight from Caskmate in second. Zana here over Caskmate a length or 2 down. They're clear from Bonark, and as they're racing Clyde the closing stages, it's Zana here who's giving weight all round. The 4-year-old who's stretching clear up towards the line. The mount of Jack Kennedy, another one for Gordon Elliott and Bective Stud. It's Zana here who wins the WKD. Back in second is Caskmate. Third goes to Bonark, and a long way back to 4, which will be battled out between Monoxide on the far side, outdoing Justice Ears for the back spot. Heading down now towards the elbow, they've got 2 to jump, and it's Hollow Games from Menandy who's coming under pressure. Ailey Rose now is the one that's going to try and go in pursuit of this leader. They head now towards the elbow and round towards the second last. Hollow Games with Ailey Rose over on the near side trying to mount a bid, and there's not much between them as they clear the second last. Hollow Games is to pick up now. Ailey Rose is trying to go after as they go to the final flight. Hollow Games is over. Ailey Rose is second. They're clear from Coquetta, and as they race inside the closing stages, Hollow Games is being pushed out by Davy Russell. Ailey Rose back in second. They're clear from Coquetta, and it is now 6 from 7 in the opener for Gordon Elliott. He takes it this year with Hollow Games. Davy Russell and the Bective Stud colours have won well. Back in second is Ailey Rose. Third goes to Coquetta.
They've 2 to jump. Gento over the second last. From Benny the Duke on the far side is Noah's Light. And then Happy Victory in between the final 2 flights. And it's Gento. Been popped a question or 2 here and is raced on. 2 to 3 lengths in front of Benny the Duke. And then on the inside, Noah's Light. Gento had a good stare at the last, but still is 3 clear from Benny the Duke on the inside, Noah's Light. Navan is going to herald a second course win for Gento, who's made every inch of it for Jack Kennedy. Second, Benny the Duke, and third, Noah's Light.
Right, I'm going to start with American Mike here. Did a stable tour with Gordon Elliott, and you know when you ask for the dark horse, a lot of trainers are like, oh, don't know. He goes American Mike. So he ran the bumper that basically, I think Gordon had won 5 of the last 7 or something like that with some very good horses. Bloody hell, he was impressive. But then I went online today, and he was only 5-1 for the Cheltenham bumper. I mean, are we getting value here, Noel, or how good is this fella?
I didn't know he was 5-1. I checked a couple of days ago after he won the race. He was 8-9-1. So someone must be backing him. It's certainly not me anyway. But listen, they do think a lot of him in the yard. He was impressive in the bumper. In fairness, it's hard to know what was behind him, you know. But whatever, he certainly did it well enough anyway. And he was very impressive pulling away. I think there was a lot left. He'll run again now in the winner's bumper in Navan. I think it's this first week in December. There's a winner's bumper in Navan, so I think we'll have a better indication of how good he may be after that race. It'll be obviously a step up for him, step up in grade and quality. So we'll have a better indication. But certainly you couldn't have asked him to do any more than what he has done already in the first race.
Question from Taylor: American Mike stay bumpers this season, or could he go jumping?
No, he definitely won't go jumping. Bumpers for sure.
Perfect. Dukey, what did you make of old Zanahiyr? Old Zanahiyr, of course, is a 4-year-old.
Yes, well, old Zanahiyr was really good. He's such a good jumper of hurdles. He sort of jumps hurdles a bit like he clears them with a bit to spare, like he'd be a chaser. We've mentioned before how much scope he has. He looks a chaser for me, to me. And when Castmate came to him turning for home, he showed his tenacity. Again, he might be a horse who needs a step up and trip. I said before the race, and I still sort of feel this might be a difficult season for him. But he's a smashing horse going forward. I can't wait to see him over a fence. And I could be wrong. Maybe he will have the speed to be a 2-mile hurdler, and hopefully we'll find out on Sunday.
Yeah, so it's the second album with Zanahiyr in the sense that he's a 4-year-old going senior hurdling. You spoke to me not that long ago about how strong he'd become, Noel, something that was actually echoed by Gordon in that stable tour, which brings me to the next question from Simpo. Would they consider a stayers hurdle route with Zanahiyr?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's hard to know now. It's a bit early in the season, I think, to be making decisions like that. But obviously, he has improved for sure over the summer break. And Brendan could be right. He may very well be a better horse over a longer trip, 2 mile 4 or something. And I think in time he definitely will be better as a chaser. But you know, I think we do have to remember he is only a 4-year-old. You know, if he does run on Sunday, he's coming up against seasoned professionals in that race. You know, and it's very hard to step up from 4-year-old and off level weights than, you know, competing with 4 horses that are 4 and 5 years older and have been running at that type of level for the last 2 or 3 years. So I think it'll be difficult, if I'm being honest, for him. I think he's still obviously very young, and he might just need another year or so to get to that level.
Do you go to the sales with price limits in your head of what horses are worth, or are you buying on the advice of trainers? That's from Stable Eye.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think if you went with price in your head, you'd probably come home with very little these days, because everyone else seems to be, a lot of the horses seem to be in demand, to be honest. The clearance rates at some of the sales have been unreal recently. So listen, you'll go with a rough price in your head. We obviously have guys who give us a good bit of advice there, and lads that work with us, and you can put a valuation on a horse, but inevitably you're going to be out by a bit for sure. So you just have to be prepared to either pay it or pull out of it on the day.
Johnny Mack, I find it hilarious, some of the people slagging Noel in terms of the prices he's paying for horses, because A, they're actually turning out to be very good. B, he has the money, and it's not an absolute calamity if some of them don't work out. And C, you could point to other owners who've spent a hell of a lot more and gotten very, very little out of the game.
Yeah, the talent is that he's got a wealth of talent there. The likes of Glenglass, the horse in Fairyhouse. I was in the ring that day. He's a smashing looking horse.
Yeah, he is. I mean, that's one we've definitely taken our time with. That was actually his first run in 2 years. So since his point to point, that was actually his first run. We had bought him shortly after the point to point, but we actually didn't get to run him last year at all. So Gordon just wanted to take his time with that one. He's a huge horse, to be honest. He's a chaser in the making. We were surprised he even won a bumper, to be honest. That was definitely an added bonus, but he's a chaser, an out-and-out chaser.
Dukey, would the likes of Ginto or Hollow Games float your boat?
Yeah, well, I thought they both made winning debuts, of course, very short prices. They were expected to. What I liked about Hollow Games was he was a little bit sticky at some of the early hurdles, but he jumped really well as the race progressed. And again, he looks like a horse who'd be better over further. Could be anything. Ginto, I thought was interesting. I wasn't sure his mind was fully on the job in Navan. And I think he could be a horse who might improve for getting a lead, which obviously as they step up in grade throughout the season, that'll be an option. It probably wasn't an option in Navan. But both of them, again, all the horses you're talking about, there's a lot to be excited about.
What do you say to that, Noel?
Yeah, I mean, Ginto had to make all the running in Navan. I suppose it wasn't ideal, but there was nothing else making it. So he had to go on because you certainly wouldn't have wanted to turn into a sprint. He lost one of his races last year because that's what happened. So, I think the better pace that's in the race, you'll probably see a better horse coming out of him. But again, he probably is one to step up and trip. And likewise, he was bought for chasing as well, not for hurdling. He was bought for chasing, but he will stay hurdling this year and he'll be a chaser next year. So I think we'll see a different horse and hopefully a better horse next year.
And in terms of like the horses you have for the year ahead, are you're saying 20 to 25, are you planning to grow that over the years ahead with Gordon and from the stud as well?
Yeah, that's the plan, pick up 4 or 5 at the sales every year and hopefully breed 5 or 6 and have them coming through every year as well too. So you kind of have the best of both worlds then too. So that'll be the plan, to try and build it up by 8 or 10 horses every year, Johnny, over the next couple of years. And you also have to realize when some of them are not working out, it's time to move them on as well too. So not all of them work out, and we're talking about the good ones, but we've had plenty of other ones that haven't worked out as well too in a short period of time. And you just need to move them on, I guess.
Indeed. You have to be very patient with horses. Let's just have a look back at Clonmel today. And I think this is things you love to see. Donny Hassett, 2 winners from the last 5 years, 63 runners thereabouts. Little horse called Sunny Villa making his handicap / seasonal debut today. Something like 25s in the morning. He went off about 3 to 1 and he only did this.
In line for the final 2 fences, presenting point Sanibel Island, and coming up strongly in between them is Sunny Villa, is cruising as they head for the second last. Presenting point from Sunny Villa, challenging in the white and red jacket. Then Sanibel Island, they're clear from Captain Jimmy and Crack on Curry at the second last. Sunny Villa put down but leads presenting point. Captain Jimmy made a mistake down the line, and it's Sunny Villa the leader. Coming to the final fence, Sunny Villa up and over from presenting point Sanibel Island, Crack on Curry and Captain Jimmy, and it is Sunny Villa coming home a very comfortable winner from presenting point. Sanibel Island all out to hold the third from Crack on Curry.
Johnny Mac, this can be left under the things you love to see. This absolutely bolted up.
Yeah, he hacked up. Donny Hassett back in the day, they were a really good yard for landing a punt. They've done it in recent years as well. They landed a punt in Ferrias a few years ago, but yeah, the money was down and they collected their dough.
Dukey, we love to see this.
Well, I love to see it because it just shows you the craft that's involved in this game. Obviously, you have to lay the horse out. It's well handicapped. It's come back bigger and stronger after its 3 novice chase runs. But then a prominent tipster puts it up at 20 to 1, and you're thinking, oh well, because we're going to back this from 20 to 1 down to all the rates, and then suddenly it's 10 to 1. So now we have to reassess, because adapt and overcome, like a Navy SEAL. That's what it's like trying to land a gamble, Johnny. It's bloodshed out there. So they go, right, well, it's 10 to 1. It's still about a 10 to 1. We'll get more on the show. So hammer it on the show down to 3 to 1. Mad props to the Hassett team.
Okay, I know your Mrs. Valerie likes the odd bit of shopping, right? So surely, Noel, at some stage, with all these winners, you just say, listen, Noel, there's one horse. I want to do a Barney Curly one day every year. Just lay one out for a handicap chase at Clonmel. Nobody will be any the wiser, and he'll win at 3s from 20s.
Well, just have a look at the run of prices we're after having in the last 3 to 4 weeks. You won't be landing any gambles with those. So we don't get much value, certainly, on the ones we have at the moment.
Your reputation precedes you, I think.
Bookies give away nothing, I think. That's the story, Johnny. It's as simple as that. It's hard to get money off them. Listen, I'd back them in odd time, but not at odds like that. You know, whether they win or not, that's crazy odds. You can't be backing them at 3 or 4 to 1 on. There's no value in that whatsoever. So,
say you had a horse for Cheltenham then that was in an like was in a couple of anti-post markets, and you thought, well, he's going to run in race A, and I like him. Would you have a few quid in him there?
well, you might, Johnny, but you know, even if you do fancy him and you do want him to get to Cheltenham, it's 5 months away. That's the problem, and so many things can happen in between. So you can have an anti-post bet. Maybe if you're having one with a run is a bit of value, but you know, the majority of them are without a run. You lose your money if they don't. So you know yourself how difficult it is even to line them up to get them there and then to win. It's you know, as Brendan said, it's so difficult to achieve the odds. You'd want to be getting huge odds and getting value for your money. So it's not as easy as it might seem.
It's definitely not easy at all. And in fact, I think it's getting harder with every year. But the beauty of this game is that there's always tomorrow. I was going on a podcast this morning, and the guy who was on it was like, oh, can you just wait 10, 20 minutes here? I've punted something in Strasbourg, and it was 33s into 10s, ended up finishing a very close second. This game is always offering opportunities. 12 o'clock punts down Dukey. Briefly, this is the start of a fascinating card. Noel has a couple of runners for Bective Stud. Bob Ollinger's chase debut, I wouldn't be overstating it here to say that this horse, in terms of expectation, over fences by Sholokov, the sire of Don Cossack, there's going to be massive, massive hope behind this fella.
Yeah, well, I mean, because he's obviously one of the most talented hurdlers in training, maybe the most talented, who can say? And he's trained by none other than the HDB. Although we did see, I mean, it's the exception that proves the rule. But Ballyadam can't jump, so there is the occasional horse through the HDB Academy that he can't get to jump. But I suspect Bob Ollinger will be well able to jump, and if he is, I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but the sky is the limit with this horse.
Yeah, I took on Ballyadam, the Racing TV Tips column last week with wide receiver, and all was going well until he actually fell at the second last. So himself and Hannon, both of whom were quite well backed. Johnny Mack, I mean, it's not that this is a bad race. He's taken on French Dynamite, who's a classy horse. Rhinestone, good horse in his day. Torygraph running in it as well. Dew Cup. I mean, but Bob Ollinger's probably going to go off something like 2 to 7, Johnny.
Yeah, 3's on, maybe 4's on, Johnny. He's as exciting a horse, I think, to go novice chasing as we've had in the last few years. That Cheltenham win was hugely impressive. And Noel, I'd say you'd love to get your hands on him. Brian Atchison might have something to say.
Yeah, no, listen, he does look like a class horse. But again, at those kind of odds, you know, it's he still has to get around. He still has to jump. And it's a pretty good race now. There's a few others in the field that could take him on. I wouldn't like to have a whole ton of money on him at 3 or 4 to 1 on, because it just goes to show the quality of racing we have here in Ireland, you know. Some of the others that have.
Here's one I'll throw for you, right? And you're an honest man. What is the absolute maximum you would ever pay for a national hunt horse with a view to its training career? So not going into stud, nothing like that. And we've heard like the likes of O'Connor, whatever he may or may not have cost. What is the maximum you would ever pay for a national hunt horse? Because you've already probably gone near it.
Oh, I think we have. You know, we paid a lot for Ginto. Obviously, that was probably the most expensive one. But, you know, he was well talked about. They thought a lot of him. He won his bumper very, very impressively. So it really depends, Johnny. But I don't think you'd be paying much more than that, to be honest. You know, that's probably a premium price for any national hunt horse, regardless of how many point-to-points they've won or not. You know, I think that's the top of the market. You wouldn't be paying much more than that. That was a 470, was it, euro?
Yeah. And it's Ginto now, not Ginto.
Ginto, yeah. Ginto, okay. Sorry.
We want to get that straight. And we also want to find out, where do you think this fella might run at Cheltenham this year?
Yeah, again, probably a bit early to say. You know, let's say, you know, he'll run. He is entered in a grade 1 now. I think on the 28th, there's a grade 1 hurdle race in Fairyhouse, I think it is. So that may very well be his next one. We'll see how he gets on there first, because, you know, as Brendan said, you might just want to step him up in trip. So the first thing we'll have to find out this year is what is the best trip to run him at first, and that'll probably determine where he runs. So I think the next race will tell us a lot.
The novice chase at 12:38 will run over an extended 2 miles. Dukey, I'm not going to lie here. You're looking for a bit of love from Noel on this one.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's very excited about Riviere de Tel, because she was a talented juvenile hurdler last year, but I was just so taken with her debut in Fairy House, how well she jumped. Now this is taking on Cape Gentleman is no joke here, but because she's a 4-year-old and because she's a mare, Cape Gentleman has to concede 20 pounds to her. And if she jumps as well in Punchestown as she did in Fairy House, it'll be a fair effort to give her that kind of weight.
Okay, so Noel, my theory on Riviere de Tell is that as much as she was a 4-year-old and she was a 4-year-old filly, she was a 4-year-old filly last season. She was actually too strong for hurdling. She was too strong in her races. She expended too much energy for hurdling. Put a fence in front of her, put her in better company. She gets weight allowance. She's finally growing into the woman that we all wanted her to be.
Yeah, that's probably a fair summary. I mean, to be honest, I was taken aback by her performance as well. First time at this year over fences it was. She definitely did it very well. But again, you are throwing 4-year-olds into, you're throwing a 4-year-old into a race against, I know Cape Gentleman is only 5, but if you look at all the others, they're 6, 7 and 8-year-olds. You are throwing her in against the older crowd and more experienced horses, but I do think she has a very good chance at the weights. It's £18. I think there's about £18 between herself and Cape Gentleman. So Cape Gentleman probably would have to be a very good horse to concede £18 and still win.
£18, that is a hell of a lot of weight, Johnny Mac.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously a talented filly though, Johnny. A few of them have Dringmore entries. Cape Gentleman is in the Dringmore, and interesting, they're running him over 2 miles. And Embittered obviously has loads of experience. I think he was favoured for a grand annual at Cheltenham back in March. She's had 10 or so runs over fences, so it'll be tough for her. Although she's getting all that weight, they're very experienced horses she's in against.
I think, I don't know, I think with horses like this, I don't know why you'd be hanging around over hurdles. I know she's only 4, but like if these horses are effectively made for chasing, there's so much that can go wrong in national hunt racing. You might as well bite the bullet, send them chasing, get your mare's allowance. God knows where she'll end up this season. The 113 3-year-old hurdle. Now, I don't know if you have many of the 3-year-olds, many 3-year-old hurdlers in general, but this Ibrique de Soy was very well touted at Galway. I don't think the mare that won the race, White Pepper, is too bad. Noel, Gavin Cromwell trained. She had a bit of experience. She jumped brilliantly in Galway. I'm speculating that you were disappointed but not forlorn afterwards.
No, you have hit the nail on the head there, Johnny. To be honest, we were below in Galway that day, and I was very impressed with White Pepper, actually. I thought it was a very good performance and pulled away very well and did it very well and probably had more in hand as well, to be honest. So I think we probably just came up against a good one there now, because I don't think Ibrique is too bad now. We would expect her to run a big race on Saturday, all right, but I think we just came up against a good one there.
Okay, we're coming towards the end of the show here. We have a couple of naps, we have a couple of selections, and we'll get back to Noel as well before the show is out. Dukey, what else do you like at Punchestown? If you like anything at Dundalk, let us know. We'll be going to the naps shortly, but what else have you to offer us in general?
Well, in general, just Dundalk, that Andreas Vasali should win the first. It'd be a short price, but I think he's actually worthy of his rating in the 90s, and that should be good enough. And I'll give Masterman another chance. So this has become a bit of a cliff horse since I've rejoined the show. He was tardy at the start the last day, again over 7 furlongs, and he didn't actually travel as well in the race as I hoped he would. But maybe the step up to a mile might make a difference again. And he was only beaten 3 lengths in the end, so it's not like he was beaten 7 wickets or anything. He'll have to find a bit more for the extra furlong on Friday, but we're going to get a price, so I'll give him one more chance. And as for the Irish racing over the weekend, I suppose the other thing to talk about is the Morgiana, isn't it? I mean, we've already mentioned Zana here. Willie could run a scatter at him, couldn't he? I think Stormy Island will run because if Zana here weren't to run for some reason, they want a pace for Echoes and Rain to run at, so Stormy Island would guarantee that your beloved Sal DA might as well run, right? So they all, but I see Abracadabras, who's almost certain to run because he's defended champion, is priced up at 3-1, and if he runs, very talented horse. Mercurial, granted, but he's more good days than bad. He had a good day in this race last year, and I chance him at that price to have another good
I have to admit though, I'm not really sure who's going to run in this, but the betting having Echoes in Rain at evens and Saldi at 9-2 or that. I know Willie's a massive fan of Echoes in Rain, but kind of mad stuff, in fairness. Like, Saldi is definitely worth his marker thereabouts of 162. I think he's probably, Willie spoke about this in his stable tour, that he's kind of gotten over that fall that he had. And you forget about this, like how falls can affect. I think he was only a 4-year-old when he had that fall. He was in the first start of his second season, which was at Naas, and it took him maybe a long time to get over that. He was sent off 18-1 in the Galway hurdle, which is quite mad. Any chance of Zana here running here, Mr. Moran?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a chance, all right. But I mean, there's no doubt he'd be up against it. Definitely these are far more experienced horses, and you can nearly make a case for every horse that's in the race in one shape or form or another. It's a good race. There mightn't be many in it, but it's a top quality race.
Yeah, just looking at the Antipost betting, it would suggest that Echoes in Rain will run. She's a fascinating mare by Authorised, who's really gotten her act together as time has gone on. She was obviously a bit free in her race, typical Authorised early on, but she's gotten her act together. Johnny Mack, what do you like over the next few days?
Oh, geez, Johnny, there's a whole host between Ireland and England. Punchestown on Saturday, obviously Gordon's horse in the bumper, Manila Crooner. I think Gordon had 4 or 5 entered in that. The fact he's declared that is significant. Willie is a horse called Manila Crooner. Watch out for that. It's out of Ascana, who was a very good mare for Colin Bowe a few years ago. It won a Kilbeggan bumper, I think, during the summer very easily. I think that could be good. And Emmett Mullins has a horse called Savannah Star in a handicap down at Cork. He ran in the 2018 Derby behind Massar. He caught the eye at Sligo 2 starts back. Ruth Duckfield rode it in a amateur riders maiden hurdle. I think there's a day in that, Savannah Star.
Okay, let's get to the naps now. Starting with you, Noel Moran, your nap of the weekend.
I'll go for our own one, Johnny. I'll go for Riviere de Tal. I know she's thrown in at the deep end here against older horses, but I do think the 18 will definitely give her a fighting chance, and that hopefully should be decent enough odds.
Dukey, things you love to hear.
Absolutely things I love to hear. I obviously didn't do my maths properly. I thought she was getting £20, but £18 is still a serious concession. The gentleman, I think, will have to lay down before the Riviera on Saturday at 12:38.
That is your nap?
That is my nap, indeed. I'm a ringing endorsement of Noel's nap.
Johnny Mack.
I keep it pretty simple. I put up Top Bandit in the novice hurdle, Gordon's horse that won at the Cheltenham October meeting. He's got an entry. I think he's in the Royal Bond. He's probably below the good novices in Gordon's yard, but the ground at Punchestown is good to yielding, and that'll be in his favour. And with fitness on his side, he'll definitely be a player there.
Beautiful. My nap is Hurricane Alex, and that is running in the 5:45. This horse can't do any more but win, and Daniel King claimed the 7. I think he's cracking value. Looks like he might be a 3-1 shot. 5:45 tomorrow at Dundalk. Not much of a race. Very straightforward horse. A couple of more questions just before we finish up. And effectively, it's all about Ginto and Hollow Games. Do they both run in the Albert Bartlett? No, does either of them run the Albert Bartlett? Will you run the Albert Bartlett?
Well, hopefully we get something to run in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unlikely we'd run 2 horses in the one race against each other, but hopefully one of them will get there. I guess, it's a bit early. Let's see how we get on here over Leopardstown, first of all, over Christmas, and see how they come out of those races. But it's unlikely we'd run 2. We'll run 1. I'm not sure which one. Any questions from Juki before we finish up?
No, I think you've covered it all pretty much. That American Mike, yeah. The reason he shortened the price from the price Noel last saw was because the sectionalistas were drooling over that running down Royal. So the Time Boys have been on back of them, and of course Sir Gerhard won it last year. So that's the reason for that. And your last chance, Johnny Mack, to ask him a question.
Johnny, yes, I have one. Noel, the Boss's Oscar. What's the target for the Boss's Oscar this season?
Maybe the National Hunt.
Chase.
Probably needs it. Yeah, National Chase. Maybe step him up in trip, I'd say. Johnny probably be better horse over a better trip. He's had the 2 races already, obviously, this year. But again, I think he's come up against 2 good ones as well on both occasions. So a longer trip, I think we might see a bit better horse in him.
Well, actually, Cornelius has said that very thing, that he'll almost definitely run that race.
Could he be an Irish national horse?
This year, I'd say unlikely this year. You know, he's only gone chasing now his first year. So I'd say it's unlikely, Johnny. Maybe next year or the year after. He's still only young, you know, so he's probably a bit young for a national just yet. We'll see how he gets on over his next couple of chases, but I'd imagine a longer trip will suit him a lot better, all right.
I've actually thought of a question.
Go ahead, Juki.
If I can interrupt you, it's something that just struck me as it, because Apple's Jade Noel, famously a very sparsely made small mare, particularly for a national hunt. And Crystal Ocean wouldn't be, he's a very well made horse, but he wouldn't be the biggest horse in the world. What was the thinking with that mating?
Yeah, obviously from the speed side of things, you know, just from the speed side of things, we didn't want to put all our apples in one basket, going back to Walk in the Park again. I suppose Walk in the Park would have been the obvious choice again, but you know, then you have two from the same, and it's 4 years down the line, 5 years down the line, really, before you can get them to a racetrack. So I suppose you want to just spread the risk, is the honest answer. And we went to something different and something with a bit of speed.
That's a good answer. And here's one for you, right? What horse, bullet to the head, are you most looking forward to at Cheltenham? And that's Cheltenham in March.
Sorry, to me, Johnny.
Yeah, what horse gives you most excitement in terms of Cheltenham or in terms of the future?
From our own stable.
Yes.
I think based on what I've seen so far this year, I guess, I know there's 4 or 5 that haven't ran, but I think it's probably American Mike. I think he did that very well in the bumper, and I suppose if we're going to keep him to bumpers, you'd imagine he'll come on from the race and he'll improve. But as I said, Gordon and the guys think a lot of him, so I'm looking forward to seeing him run in a winner's bumper now in Navan, and hopefully he gets to Cheltenham and we've a half a chance in that.
It was all nonsense. 92 is actually great value. Okay. Everyone loves American Mike, and thereby Noel Moran has just told all his other children, I don't love you as much as I love American Mike. It's like asking who's your favorite child. It's actually American Mike. This is the last comment from Twitter that we'll throw at you, Noel, and this is from the Racing Mind. Any chance of lending us a few quid?
To buy a horse? No, stay away from them, Johnny. You're better off staying away from them. There's no money in horse racing.
We can all attest to that. Got involved in the leg of one again recently. You just keep the least you deserve from your mistakes, or the least that you owe them, is to repeat them and repeat them and repeat them, and that's what race is all about. It's been brilliant having you on, Noel.
Right, listen, thanks a million for having us, Johnny. Delighted to be part of it.
Enjoy Cheltenham. Juki just seems.
Thank you, Johnny.
There he is.
No. It was slightly. I think it must be the Wi-Fi here. It was a slightly tricky experience because you were fading in and out in parts. But I think I got most of it, and I feel like you did a great job.
Lots of hangers in the background. Johnny Mack, enjoy the race in the weekend.
Yeah, you too, Johnny. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and thanks a million to Noel Moran for coming on of Bective Stud. That was on the wire in association with Bar One Racing. We hope we gave you a lot of information there. We shall be back next week.
This is On the Wire, Racing TV's podcast for the best racing previews in association with Bar One Racing.